and everybody's got these intrinsic goals that they want to reach. Those goals are kind of what we're after. We want to make positive movement towards people's goals.
This is the Batten House Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Batten.
Hello, everyone. I am very excited to have our guest here today, Dustin Beach from Positive Movement Fitness. How you doing, Dustin?
I'm well, Sean. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Dustin has an awesome business in the Kanata Lakes area that I really love, and his trainers there. Why don't you tell the viewers what you do in your business?
Sure. We are a coach-led business in Kanata Lakes. I would say coach-led because it's not a fitness facility where you come in and work out. All of our programs are run by a coach. We typically work with busy professionals, parents, and retirees. And we're often looking at folks, if we're talking about parents, usually they're exhausted and out of energy to keep up with their kids. Busy professionals have been sitting at a desk and typically haven't had a really good health habit since prior to COVID. So they're just a similar space to parents, though, exhausted and looking to get their energy back. A lot of them are rounded from sitting at a desk, so they've got some kyphosis and they're looking to kind of get strong again, get that feeling of confidence back. And then our retirees are typically here because they're on the other side of their career and they want to stay as healthy and active as long as possible while being able to do things and not feeling like in our climate, we're just getting over winter here, especially today. I think it's like 0 degrees out there, but we're
balmy
just getting
today.
Yeah, nice and balmy. We got the door open at the front.
Nice.
So in this climate, a lot of folks notice when they get to the other side of their career and retirement that, hey, things are getting a little more difficult in the winter to stabilize myself on the ice. I'm not as confident as I used to be. I read this article about osteoporosis, and I noticed that my bone health isn't where it should be. Familial history for heart disease, a lot of these kind of things start to creep up, and you start to realize that there's a level of fitness that you're not meeting. And I would say a lot of our clients are coming in for that. It's a lot of our retirees, at least, are coming in for that. There's a health history or it's kind of a health intervention that happens that gets them in. So,
yeah, I getting to know your business. I first off, the name is perfect for what you do because you're not a gym. You're not a local gym where you just show up and work out. You really focus on each person and improve their movement. And that's so needed, especially in our community and the way we are doing less and less movement as a people. So I think it's awesome what you guys do there. Tell our listeners about your journey. I know a bit about it. It's a great personal journey. Tell us your inspiration behind starting your Positive Movement Fitness.
There's a couple different directions I could go. I think I'll start off. So my best friend's dad was a firefighter, and this guy was an absolute giant to me as a teenager, as a kid. He was just very strong. He was always lifting weight. He would bike pretty much from Ashton to Bell's Corners for work. He was a monster, and then he got brain cancer. And firefighters, we kind of know today that it's synonymous, some of those chemicals with cancer. But back then I thought, wow, if this guy can get cancer, I think anyone can. I got to start looking after my health as a college kid. You don't treat your body the best. So that was the impetus to get me into fitness. And then since then, I've run almost 20 marathons, and just marathoning was my way in, trying to get that Boston jacket. And then once I passed that, just continued on the running field with ultras and Spartan races and these different sort of things. But then somebody one day said, "Oh, you're just skinny fat as a runner." And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like
Mm.
in the best shape of my life. I run this fast and, I'm great. And they're like, well, you keep the muscle you need, but essentially you're just fat, bones, and organs. And I was like, oh, damn. And I started strength training. This is probably back, I'm saying like 2016, and started to get into that field. And then I would be at my full-time job, but on the side, I'd be coaching people with nutrition or running. And I was part of this health coaching year course. It was like a 12-hour a week course in 2016 with the Kresser Institute. It was a California Functional Medicine Institute.
Okay.
And what that taught me about coaching was there's this habit shift that needs to happen for most people. So when we start a habit, usually it sucks. There's like this many cons, right? And there's this many pros, but you heard it was good for you, so you keep it going. And then just to learn that it takes most people, from a research perspective, about 6 months to get into this place where the cons start to squeeze and the pros start to go up. So a smoker, smoking's a really easy example. At the start, you're like, I could use a smoke to get rid of the stress. And then you start to see this shift where they're like, actually, I hate the smell of smoke. I've been off of it. I'm starting to cough up stuff. I'm starting to feel better. And I think with fitness, it's really similar. At the start, it's like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm sore. And then they get in this habit and they start to feel like, wow, I'm actually energized. I can do things that are little wins, little aha wins in people's lives. So I have some clients that are like, I don't need my husband to start the lawnmower anymore. That's huge. Or
It's
some
huge.
other clients, it's huge, right? She would need to get him anytime she wanted to cut the grass.
Absolutely.
And then I had another client yesterday. She's 66, and she was really hip shifted, low back pain for years. And she came into our small groups, and she's like, "This is when I got in here, I was just tired of being in pain, and now this is my place of comfort and safety and community."
Awesome.
And that's a beautiful story. When you think about transformation, sometimes I think when you come into this field, you're like, 30-pound weight loss and jacked muscles, but it's not always that way. We've got another lady, she had a terrible knee injury with a couple surgeries involved and still limps, but her win a couple weeks ago was I stood up in the shower for the first time and didn't have to sit down out of fear.
It's an incredible win. Absolutely.
It's an incredible win,
Awesome.
right? And everybody's got these intrinsic goals that they want to reach when they come in here, and those goals are kind of what we're after. We want to make positive movement towards people's goals, and we want to, if you look at some of these big gyms, it's just there's a very corporate nature to it. It's we need to tick off boxes, we need to sign clients, but there's not a direction towards, like, let's make sure this client is getting towards their goals. It's a partnership. The client needs to do the work too. But if you have someone that's extremely motivated, you should have a trainer on the other side that is extremely motivated to get that person.
Absolutely.
If it's osteoporosis, we're going to get that bone scan back a year from now, and they're going to be elated that they've come here. That's the goal. We got to get you to your goal as best we can as partners.
Well, it's like what you and I talked a while back, and you had mentioned about ensuring people, as you get older, ensuring that you can get up from the floor position, and that really spoke to me about your approach. And I know you're, sharing your story. Your heart is in this, like 100%. But just like breaking it down to that simple for some people, that being able to do that continually as you get older sounds like such a little thing, but it's really not. You're really helping to build the strength, the balance that takes as you age. And I just really appreciate about that approach that you have in your business. I digress, like I typically do, but anyway, I've always
It's a good point.
thought so much about you. Well, I think so much about you and your business that that it's that those little things that are really making a meaningful impact in our community and people's lives. And I just want to help get the word out. So Dustin, can you tell us about any myths or misconceptions that you hear in your industry?
Yeah, let's go over three. The number one myth is that you can have it and in 30 days and get back online. We have a program called the Amazing 12. It's 12 weeks, and we can do some pretty serious stuff. We can take 30 pounds off someone and then give them a bunch of muscle on top of that, which is crazy, but it's the number one transformation program in the world. But the problem lies that you need to consistently do this stuff. Like 30 days, you can take 30 pounds off, but if you're going to put it back on, like, what are we doing here? Studies show that it's pretty easy to put fat back on after losing it. So I think the misconception there is that, people want to take off the weight or put on muscle and do it very, very quickly. But I think you'd be better off doing something over the long haul where you can look back and go, wow, I've been working out 5 years. This is crazy. I've got such a solid base. I've been pretty consistent. I've missed things for birthdays and, vacations and sickness and stuff. But for the most part, for 5 years, I've been really consistent. I feel strong.
You developed a habit.
I've developed a really good habit.
Right?
And
part of what I do.
Nutrition, and that goes for nutrition, sleep, stress, exercise, cardiovascular health. We want to do something consistently. It doesn't have to be all out. We have this really weird thing in society where we want to be all out with everything. It doesn't have to be all out. It just has to be consistent. So I would say misconception one is that. Misconception number two is females think that adding strength is they're going to be big and bulky. I don't want to be like this, and I don't want to look like you does. And I would say to most of them is that you got to work really hard for that. Like, you're going to work hard in here, but you'd have to be here an hour a day. Like, you really have to bust your butt to build muscle. And the advantage is, if you feel like you're getting too bulky, what do? You just don't lift, and it comes off. So that's a misconception. Yeah. I mean, like having strength and muscle and the efficacy of that, the benefit of that is so much higher than any fear of being bulky should be. But it's this weird misconception in the field is that, this is gonna change me for the worse, but it's really, really helpful. And then the third, doing this high intensity stuff all the time and body pump and cardio, that this is the answer. It's not. Strength training is the answer, which is lifting really, really heavy weight, especially if you're a female over 40. There's a lot of hormonal changes going on at that point. Females over 40 are fed by estradiol, and it's pretty much the testosterone of females. And over 40, when perimenopause hits, the estradiol starts to pull back, and it's really important in that phase to start to do some strength training and not as much stressful stuff like that we see out there, which is pretty cardio dominant, whether that's running really hard, rowing really hard. So
speed bikes, cycling.
It has its place, but I think probably closer to twice a week. And you want to be doing sprint interval training and HIIT training, but it should not dominate your life. So I think that imbalance of thinking that, all of the cardio is I'm just going to burn the calories off. But actually having muscle on board will help you burn more calories off, because muscle costs a lot of energy to maintain. Muscle costs a lot of food energy to maintain. So actually having a lot of muscle makes your metabolism a little bit better if you think about it that way. Yeah. It's the biggest organ in the body. You want it to be efficient.
Your knowledge, I tell you, man, you're full of knowledge.
Nerd out on as much as I can and try and make sure I really absorb the information and understand it, and I can disseminate that
and really you apply it every day when you're at Positive Movement, and you're finding these awesome other trainers that are working with you that also embody this heart that you have, which is just really unique. And as a customer, I value that big time at your gym. So when you're not at the gym, you're not working with people, what does Dustin Beach do for fun? I know you're a father of little monkeys and a husband. What are you doing for fun these days?
Things are pretty busy with 3. So I try and get home enough, but even my son and I were at Pakenham on Saturday snowboarding. Nice. So he's learning that a little bit, often taking the kids to their various activities. But I like to run. I like to rock climb, work out. I would say those are kind of my 3. Walking my dog is my number 1. It's he's 13, so he's my buddy, and getting in the back forest and walking him would be high on my list. I would say right now though, getting in the snow is pretty fun. Getting out there. Yeah. My wife made a good point a couple of years ago. She said, people that hate winter probably don't have a winter sport. And people that love winter probably have one or more sports. So I've got
wise words.
Cross-country skiing, snowboarding, skating is amazing. This sort of stuff keeps me busy.
That's great. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's very wise. So with your business, and personally, can you describe a hardship or a life challenge that you rose above, and now you can look back and say, hey, because of this, I'm better for it. I've grown as a father, I grew as a business owner, and so on.
Yeah, there's been so many, Sean. It's like going to school again. I think the biggest thing is that we hosted a race, a little community race. That one was maybe the most recent challenge. There were just some logistics around hosting the race and closing the road down and not having adequate promotion of that it was closing down was really hard. So I think we would do things differently, but you learn, like humans make mistakes, right? So I think that was a really hard one because it was one of the most exciting days I've ever had as a business owner, where we had all of these wonderful families and kids, and we brought it together. We had this beautiful community in front of the gym, and there were kids laughing, and the kids had the medals, and there were some parents like, this is the best day my kids had in a long time.
Yeah, and our kids ran in the race. It was their first race they've ever done.
Amazing.
The sense of accomplishment on these kids' face. I mean, it was just awesome. But yeah, well, go on.
I think that one taught me, like, for one, even if it was done perfect, people would not be happy. Like you're not going to make everyone happy all the time. It's just a false dichotomy. You need to maybe stay off line a little bit, but also plan for the worst. So we closed down the road, and obviously there were people upset. So now iterating that plan moving forward and really trying to make it part of the community and getting community involvement. And these kind of lessons are so helpful. Even opening this place was like such a risk, right? Post-COVID. You're just consistently anxious about getting enough clients and that inner voice of, you're not good enough. You can't, so it's nice to be, we're 2 years in now, in this place, and then 2.5 prior to this. So many lessons. Opening a bricks and mortar is just, it presents so many lessons that you take in and just prepare for, and you continue to iterate and get better. So this year we've got a newsletter now, and we're on top of newsletters, and we're blogging, and we're doing
podcasting.
We're podcasting. Yeah. We're in-house promotion and stuff. So we're always adding things and getting better. And then for me, the biggest, another big lesson was to be a business owner and not just a trainer. So part of that entrepreneur's plight is you get into business and you're like, the business can't function without me. And there is a sense the business can, like, that is true in a sense. You need to be here in your business, but yet you also need to manage the business. So that was a big thing of learning that these times where I'm not working. So I was telling you before the call that my daughter was home yesterday. Well, I had to leave and go get her from school, and I was home from 10 till 3 when I had to pick the other kids up. But I worked from 10 till 3. I had lots of stuff to do. I didn't actually get through my to-do list. So that's a major growth in Dusty since he started the business, is that I have become a much better owner. My training philosophies are still there, and it's like riding a bike. I'm still a good trainer, and I'm still continuing to learn, but yet I'm learning to be a better owner, which is managing the business and making sure we're doing the right things to grow the business. So I'm recognizing that my job as an owner is to bring new people in and allow positive movement to be where our people might be, where these retirees and parents and busy professionals might be, so that we can find people that go, you know what, this sounds like a place I resonate. I just got an osteoporosis diagnosis. I resonate with this, or I'm going through menopause or perimenopause, and I want to go to a place that actually understands what the heck it is. Like, there's a lot of nuance towards that. So let's go to a place that actually understands what peri means and menopause means.
For our listeners, what's your phone number there?
We are 613-806-7157.
Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy working in and on your business. I know there's so much more we can talk about, but appreciate your time, and we will we'll get you on the show again. There's so much more that I want you to share with our listeners. But until next time, thank you. Really appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Always nice to chat.
Thanks for listening to the Batten House Podcast. To nominate a favorite local business to be featured on the show, go to battenhousepodcast.ca. That's battenhousepodcast.ca.